gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's April 29th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented as always by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And man, another day is here, and some interesting stuff has been coming up, both through this show, the comments on YouTube, our message boards at CaneSport.com. So, I thought I'd touch on a few things real quick as we transition into the news of the day, which is obviously centralized around recruiting. So somebody says, Gary, I'm confused. And as I read the post, I thought about it. And what he said was, you've been talking for so long about how there's a talent deficiency in the program. And yeah, we've beaten that subject to death. I've talked about how for years, there's not enough elite talent. It's always been backed up in many different ways. Certainly NFL draft 3-day week that's going on right now is backing it up with a big time way with exclamation points for this year. And so the question was, well, how can that be? And then all of a sudden, you're so anti-Matt Shodell, and you're all excited and optimistic about this year's team. And I thought about it a little bit. And, obviously, Matt, it's easy to line up on the opposite side of your arguments. That's not a difficult thing, whether it's this show or anything else that we happen to discuss. Stone crabs, the way that they're tortured by you and things like that. We have all kinds of different topics that we go through working together on a daily basis for a few decades, like we have. But on this one, I just wanted to explain real quick and open it for discussion. And I'm getting long-winded here because Matt has laryngitis and he wants to limit his talking time on this show. So don't post anything. Oh, Gary, you hogged up the airwaves this morning and all that stuff. I am taking one for the team here. I'm doing a lot of talking. I'm sure I'm going to be reaching for my water a few times. And I am doing a lot of talking this morning because Matt Shodell has laryngitis. God knows why. I don't know who he's been screaming at, whatever. That's his personal business. But he can't speak a lot on today's show. So I'm doing most of the talking as we're now 3 minutes into it, and he hasn't said a word yet, if you haven't noticed. All right. So anyway, I thought about this post, and the reason why I'm so bullish about what's going on and what's happened in the portal and why it might have a positive impact on this season is because we all know that they're not playing Texas A&M and Clemson every single week. Okay, they're playing an ACC schedule. It's centralized around the Coastal Division, obviously, and that's what they have to win to get to Charlotte and take their best shot. And maybe it'll be a rematch against Clemson, win or lose in the first game. We don't know yet. The Atlantic is competitive. NC State's going to have a good team. A couple other, you never know. Even a Wake Forest could step up again this year. Who knows? But that's the way it looks right now. But like a lot of people, I like Miami now with these, 11, 12 players that have been added by way of the transfer route against the Coastal. I think they're going to be deeper. I think they're going to be better. And that is why I am so bullish on things now that these transfers have been brought into the equation. I went on to note in that thread on our message boards that doesn't change the picture in terms of elite talent, because as you go down the transfer portal list, there's not one guy on there that I'm ready to anoint right now as elite. And Matt, I'm gonna let you comment on all this in a second. There's not one guy that I would anoint as being an elite player that's on that transfer list. But when you take the whole group of them together, Darrell Jackson, the defensive tackle from Maryland, Caleb Johnson, linebacker from UCLA, Darryl Porter, cornerback from West Virginia, Jake Lickenstein, Antonio Moultrie, Akeem Messidor, who will likely be a starter at defensive end. You put all those guys together, you've got several starters. You got several guys that are going to, at worst, if they don't start, boost depth at challenge positions coming into all this. To me, Matt, it's a better football team without question than it was a couple months ago.
Yeah, well, thank you for mentioning my laryngitis. I really appreciate that. No, look, it's not that bad.
Listen, I talked for 5 minutes.
The problem I'm having right now is I'm coughing like constantly, unless I'm sucking on something on one of those Halls things or whatever, and even then I cough. So the worst thing in the world is having a COVID, environment, and you can't go anywhere because I don't have COVID. I mean, I've tested for COVID. I don't have COVID, but I have this cough, and now it's turned into like a laryngitis thing where if I talk for a long time, look, it's not fun. But I'm gonna tough it out for the CaneSport, whatever. You see, that's the cough. Non-productive for the CaneSport people out there. So anyway, listen, I'm not sure.
Did you take the COVID test?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I took a test yesterday. Yeah. So I'm not sure. Look, just because I'm negative, Maddie, I've been consistently saying this. I don't know why people don't understand it. Miami is going to reach the ACC title game this year. I don't understand why people can't wrap their heads around. I keep saying that. Okay, there's a disconnect. The reason why that person said they're confused is because there's a total disconnect between being able to win.
This is in honor of you. You just said that Miami is going to reach the ACC title game. That is worthy of cane shades.
There's a total disconnect between people understanding that reaching the ACC title game is easy in the Coastal. It's just basically like beating Pittsburgh once, because I don't see anybody else in the Coastal that's any good. And there's a huge disconnect because this is not a roster anywhere near Clemson's roster. This is not a roster anywhere near national championship level, playoff level. So the disconnect is the roster is not that good on a national level. The roster is great on an ACC Coastal level. That's the disconnect. That's why people are confused. That's the truth. I don't know how else to say it. They've taken 11 transfers because of how bad this roster is. And you and I both know that generally, unless somebody decides to go in the portal hoping that John Ruiz will throw some money their way, generally people that go in the portal aren't going because they're stars and are starting somewhere else. It's because they need a new start. And of all the players that transferred to Miami,
they want a bigger stage.
Or a bigger stage, yeah.
You look at Porter, Messidor,
like a UAB kid. So listen,
and Porter, Messidor, like they're good players at West Virginia.
Yeah, but Messidor,
they want the bigger stage.
Okay, Messidor would have started at defensive tackle there. He didn't want to be a defensive tackle. Okay, they had a transfer defensive end come in. He saw the writing on the wall. He left. Are these guys all Americans that transferred in? I don't really see a Jalen Phillips yet, but maybe one will turn into that. They've struck lightning in a bottle before, right? With Jalen Phillips, Bubba Bolden didn't turn out to be as good as we thought he'd be. Quincy Roche was just okay. You go down the defensive and offensive transfers they've had. One of them was a first-round NFL draft pick, and the others, I'd argue, were good for the time. But to cost yourself a roster spot in the future over that, I don't know if that's worth it. And this is why I keep talking about the vicious cycle, right? You take 11 transfers that are now on your roster. And one of them, the defensive tackle they just got is basically a recruit. He's a redshirt freshman. A sophomore. His freshman year, he was okay at Maryland. Wasn't great, but he's basically a recruit. He's got 3 years of eligibility left instead of 4. That's okay. But when you bring in a guy who's got 1 or 2 years of eligibility left, and once you're over that 7 quote unquote free transfer limit, you're costing yourself future recruit spots. And even those 7 have a hidden cost. The 7 free transfers, right? The new rule is you take 25 recruits, you can take 7 transfers on top that don't count against the 25. That didn't used to be the case. But you're filling up your 85 roster, which they need to expand that 85. You're filling up your 85 roster with transfers, one-time transfers, who, if you, like I've said in the past, if they don't work out for 1 year and you want to jettison them, that's the end of their career. Because they have to sit out a year wherever they go. No one's taking these guys with the thousands of people in the portal that can play right away. No one's taking them. So it's hard to say goodbye to those guys. So you got 11 of them this year. You've already got some other transfers that are on the roster from previous years. Tyreek Stevenson, obviously, you're not going to get rid of him anyway. But you know what I'm saying? Like when your roster has 20 transfers out of the 85 on it, that's 25% of your team. That's costing you some recruit spots for the future. It's costing you some guys you can't jettison because it's just not the right thing to do. And I know it's a business, but to me, it would be really hard to bring a kid in and promise him the world and then say a year later, we can't take you. So anyway, that's my thought on that.
All right. You just got almost 5 minutes back. Take your sip of water.
Yeah, great.
Chill out for a few minutes. I'm gonna trade my shades, and I'm gonna come with these. Okay, the pink flamingos. Okay, and here's why. What you said something at the very beginning of that speech that you just gave that was soft as hell. You said Miami is nowhere close to Clemson. Now, Clemson is not the same Clemson that we've gotten to know through the years. But I know that you have looked into Clemson a little more than I have at this point. I know you have. So I'm going to let you explain why you say that Miami is nowhere close to Clemson, because I think they're closer than you're giving them credit for.
Okay. Well, on offense, I think Miami's better than Clemson. Okay.
Correct. Okay, we're on the same page.
Okay, but keep in mind, Clemson has one of the top probably running backs returning, most talented running backs in the country returning in Will Shipley. They have a really good offensive line that I believe is returning. I'm trying to think how many guys are returning. They're returning 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they're returning 4 or 5 starters. 4 starters. Okay, one of them, Jordan McFadden, is one of the best offensive linemen in the country. The other, Marcus Tate, would be one of the best Miami starters. Will Putnam is a very good offensive lineman, and Walker Parks. All 4 of those guys, other than, Marcus Tate wasn't at 70% plus, except for pass blocking, he was close. But the other guys were all over 70, graded out over 70. Miami's got one guy, Zion Nelson, and then DJ Scaife, graded out over 70. So there's that. So the offensive line of Clemson, I'd say, is probably better than the Miami offensive line. The running back, the top running back at Clemson is probably better than Miami. I think Miami's quarterback is far better. But, at their receivers, they got Joseph Nagata, Bo Collins are both excellent. They have a guy who missed last year due to injury, who's their slot guy, this Brennan Spector. So basically on offense, they got a lot back, okay? If their quarterback can play anywhere near decent, they're going to be an outstanding offense. Now, the big thing here is defense, okay? Clemson's defense is arguably going to be the best defense in the country. The defensive line...
The best in the country, huh?
Yeah. The defensive line, they've got Miles Murphy and Xavier Thomas are going to be probably the best end duo, certainly in the ACC, maybe in the country. They both graded out well over 70 last year, and they're both outstanding defensive linemen. At linebacker, they've got Trenton Simpson, who's outstanding. And they've got a couple of guys who are coming back, Barrett Carter and Jeremiah Trotter, who's Trotter, I guess, is sort of the question mark. And they have Keith McGuire also there, has a little more experience, but Barrett Carter's outstanding. And then the defensive backs, I know Miami's defensive backs are really good, but they've got back 2 starters, Sheridan Jones and Andrew Mukuba, who are both really good. And they've got a guy, Fred Davis, who was a top recruit that Miami wanted, who's going to get his chance. He played a bit last year, graded out really well. So, across the board, their defense is really outstanding. Miami has the edge maybe in the secondary, but up front in a linebacker, Clemson way better than Miami just on paper heading into the season. So, I think there's a gap. If you don't think there's a gap, then I can't tell you anything else.
You're making some decent points. I'll get rid of the pink flamingos. I'll come back with the parrots. You're making some decent points there.
I mean, they just have a lot of guys back. They have a couple of guys on offense that were hurt last year that are back. And on defense, they have so many returners that are just really good. And they got the couple of guys that they have that aren't returning. Like, these are 4- and 5-star high potential guys who already got a little bit of playing time in the past. So,
all right. So who's the tougher out? Is it Clemson, as you just described, or Texas A&M, the other monster road game that's on the schedule for this year?
I haven't analyzed Texas A&M yet. I mean, I'm not going to make stuff up to people. Like, I took a deep dive into Clemson this week.
Please don't. They have enough trouble reconciling what you say on a daily basis. You definitely don't want to make things up.
I do it based on number. I'm just a numbers guy. I'm not going to make stuff up. I don't cover Clemson.
Right,
I don't cover Texas. I cover Miami.
That subject down the road.
I know what Miami has. I know Clemson when I watch them play Miami. I got my hands full covering Miami. I can't watch every Clemson game. I just happen to know people that follow Clemson think this is going to be a better Clemson team than last year's Clemson team. And I can see why. And I think it's going to be a top defense in the country. And I went through the numbers and I see why. I'll do the same with Texas A&M, and we could revisit that after I finish that analysis in the next week or two.
Okay, you got it. We'll come back at that one another day. All right, so things are winding down here to April, and we've been talking about this hard March 1 deadline, supposedly for the transfer portal. But
and by the way, Gary, this is the other thing that you just don't pay attention to. It's the same Miami roster as last year, except for 11 guys. Like Mario Cristobal bought in recruits, I get it. But other than Jaleel Skinner,
11 is almost a half of a team if you're talking about starters, and most of these guys are going to be starters.
First of all, they took in six of the guys on the defensive line. Like they can't all start.
No, they can't all start.
Two of them will start. I don't even think the defensive tackles will start.
I think Lichtenstein goes back to a swing role now. He doesn't have to start.
As a backup. Yeah, these transfers
will not start for sure.
The two ends will start. The two ends will start. But my point is, you can add 4 or 5 starters in the portal. That's great. Hopefully they pan out and they're amazing. But it's still the bulk of your team is Manny Diaz's roster. Like that's just a fact. Like that's why fans have to give this team a break this year.
Well, listen, if you get 3 starters out of this, Matt, if Agood, Mitchell Agood,
those 2 guys will start.
Messidor are your starting defensive ends. I think we both believe they will be, with Jafari Harvey coming in on 3rd downs. Okay. That's the way I see it. Okay, that's 2 starters. And then if you figure that Darrell Jackson, I think has a great chance to be a starter.
I disagree. Look at his numbers from last year at Maryland, Gary. I don't understand. I get that his body's amazing. He looks the part. He's played football for 3 years. You've got Jared Harrison-Hunte, who's been injured, but is amazing. You've got Leonard Taylor, who's amazing. Why are we downplaying that they have 2 great tackles? What they were missing at defensive tackle was depth.
And I love
behind those guys.
I like the prospects of Leonard Taylor. I'm not diminishing Leonard Taylor. There is nothing that Leonard Taylor has done.
Everybody wants to say the new guys are going to be better than the old guys.
Nothing those 2 guys are good. To earn the adjective amazing. Okay, he has not done anywhere close yet.
They can be amazing.
You hope he will become amazing. He's not amazing yet. He has not proven that. He didn't even prove in spring practice.
But you're anointing a redshirt freshman who had an okay year at Maryland, nothing great, as the next great defensive tackle this year. When they got 2 guys who were really good.
I'm going by what I've heard, and I'm going by the fact of how
what you've heard is that
he was for both Florida and Miami.
What you've heard is this guy has the best looking body of the defensive tackle group. That's what you heard.
I have not checked out his body.
You literally told me. You literally told me from what you've heard. He looks like a defensive tackle, unlike the defensive tackles they have. Correct?
Yeah, but that's not me checking out. That's not me checking out his body.
That doesn't mean he's going to be amazing right away.
Though, don't say I was checking out his body. I wasn't checking out his body. Okay.
I'll rephrase it.
Yes.
I'll rephrase it.
And listen, I'm going largely by what I've been told by football people, and I'm told this kid is going to be really good. We'll see.
Keep your eyes down, Gary. Stop checking out my body. Keep your eyes down. So embarrassing. Much better.
All right. So we'll talk another day about whether they've got enough now on defense. That'll be a subject for another day, maybe next week or something. But they've certainly taken a move in the right direction. I'm very interested to see how they show up at Clemson and at Texas A&M. Like
100%.
That's going to be very, very interesting, obviously, for us and everybody else. All right, so let's get into a little bit about stuff that's on the website today. We continue our recruiting updates. We got a story on Louisiana 4-star defensive back Derek Williams. He visited in the middle of the month with his parents, was blown away, seemingly like everybody is that visits Coral Gables. And he talks in our story today how he's definitely going to return for an official visit down the road. So make sure you check that story out. We also have an update on 2025 quarterback Colin Hurley. He lists UM among several offers. He'll be back in June for the Legends Camp, which will obviously be a big focal point next month. Miami's in good early position there, but 2025, that's a few years away, obviously. No point in getting too crazy about that one. We also have news about a coach eval visit, netting an offer to cornerback Braden Marshall. So make sure you check that one out. The NFL draft continues, so several Hurricanes are hoping to have their names called out there as well. And then there's also a close look at the baseball team that's entering the final month of the regular season. Time to get primed up for the postseason. They got Georgia Tech up next.
We here at LifeWallet take security very seriously. Our data security team is working constantly to make sure that your data is not accessed by anybody who you don't authorize.
Hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, I'm
Excuse me, sir. Thank you.
I have a conversation, and he's thinking about it, and I'll be talking to CC. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
We use leading technology standards like biometric data to make sure that only you have access to your data and your identity is protected. LifeWallet gives you access to your entire medical history and information at the touch of your finger, so that it can save you time and can save your life.
Data transfer complete.
All right, Matt. So I started to talk about this earlier. This May 1 target hard date for kids going into the transfer portal. But I do want to point out that there is a exception to the rule. And whenever there's a coaching change and you have a first-year head coach, and I haven't pulled the rule, I don't know the exact language, but I'm pretty sure that there is additional time.
Well, you got a waiver. You got a waiver.
Yeah, for kids.
Very easy to get a waiver. And guess what? Any kid from any other school that is from South Florida, they can transfer whenever they want. They can just basically say, I want to come home, my family, I miss them, whatever. The NCAA does not want to get sued anymore. So
yeah.
the May 1st deadline is sort of a made up deadline for a lot of
people. So, we've been trying to be extremely disciplined. Okay. And we're not trying to anticipate who might end up in the portal, meaning that they've probably been told, listen, it's looking kind of challenged for you here.
You're talking about leaving. I'm talking about coming in. The kids who leave or the kids that leave?
Yeah, but some more are going to have to leave. I mean, they've brought all these kids in, but guys that are in the portal are Austin Cave, Cody Brown, Larry Hodges. These are all guys that went into the portal since Mario Cristobal became coach. Nesta Severa, Corey Gaynor. I think there's going to have to be at least another 5 more or so that are going to have to go in the portal.
I'm trying to get some clarification. There's some thought.
There's still going to be more come in too. They're not done.
Correct.
I think they're looking hard for receivers.
Correct, but there's some thought that the answer, and there's nothing I've been able to find and clarify. There's some thought that the NCAA will allow super seniors to not count against the 85 this year, but I have not seen that confirmed by anybody yet. But that would give Miami a little bit more leeway. With a few guys, I think 5 guys, maybe 6 guys. So, that's something else to keep in mind. But that's I can't get anybody to say that's definite. Now, will it happen? Maybe. Knowing the NCAA, they'll do it like way too late, but it's possible.
Yeah. So there's May 1st might have been like a date on the calendar for all this, but it's totally meaningless as it pertains to Miami. I think there'll still be some kids come in, maybe by May 1st. I mean, we still got a couple days left here. I think we could see some action here in the next couple days. And certainly I think there'll be some guys that will be departing after May 1st. With the semester ending at Miami, guys get their, can maybe need a few classes to graduate or whatever. But Mario Cristobal does have discretion in terms of renewing scholarships. So, there's going to be some tough decisions there. So we're trying not to speculate on it. We do have a pretty decent idea of how we think this is going to go. But in fairness to the kids, we're not speculating that a kid's going to be in the transfer portal, because maybe he won't be in the transfer portal. We'll see. And that's a bad speculation. So we're not going to do that. All right. Well, that's going to do it for Good Morning CaneSport today. We got Matt Shodell through it okay with his laryngitis, and now he's got the weekend to heal up. He's put his stone crab traps away, so there won't be any stone crabs spitting at him this weekend. I don't know how his life's going to be complete without that.
Stone crabs are safe.
But I'm sure he'll find some other nice leisure activities this weekend, and we hope all you guys out there do. So thank you once again for joining us on Good Morning CaneSport. For Matt, I'm Gary. We'll see you guys Monday morning with a recap of the weekend and a look ahead to the content on the site on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.